What's up, guys? Welcome back to Streetcar Shenanigans YouTube channel. In today's episode, we are bringing back some Terminator love. Kinda. Not full-blown Terminator love, but we are bringing back some 99 to 04 Cobra stuff. It's been a little while since you guys seen us do some work on some in the channel. So we have a car that actually, from a customer that found us on YouTube, so thank you once again. But it is here. It is a 3.4 Whipple car. It's a 99 Cobra, first of all, that has been swapped with 03, 04 driveline. And we're going to be changing that once again. So the motor, blower are going to stay, but we're going to be changing a whole bunch of stuff that you're not going to really see in this episode. But Dan is working on pulling the engine right now. We're playing with our new lights, because y'all were complaining it was dark. So you can see my flush face. Dan, you want to come in and get on this new light?
My pasty ass too.
Well, we could turn the amber up a little bit. It'll help your pasty ass look a little bit less pasty.
Hey, we're both.
That's what it's for. I don't look as white as you do.
Oh.
It's because my beard is darker. All right, so we got two lights now at the shop. Not that it's really any big deal for you guys, but we hope it helps the quality of content being produced. So we have a under car light, which will be used for just, obviously for like actually working on stuff. It's kind of nice, right, Dan?
Yeah, it's not bad so far.
And but then actually when we're video recording down here, you guys can see what we're talking about, what we're working on. They're pretty lightweight. I'll give you, they're by GVM. It was like the best reviewed Amazon lights. So it's not like we went crazy with them. I've got to try to like remember where they are, because it does help a lot. Like if I stand here and talk to you guys and make a video for you, or if I'm over here, it's kind of like what it used to be. So it does kind of add a little bit of color and increases our videography a little bit for the channel. So anyway, that's what we're doing. Let's get underneath here. So this is a solid rear axle swapped 99 Cobra. It has a T56, long tube headers, stock engine as far as we know. It has like a 4-pound lower on it. It does have a 3.4 Whipple crusher on top. And the reason why he brought it to us was because he was having trouble getting the blower on. And he said, you know what? I'm just going to bring it to you guys. And now we're kind of happy he did, because there's a lot of stuff that Dan has found that are kind of questionable.
This
ABS sensor was...
It's looped around the sway bar.
Yeah, which is interesting. It would probably work fine, but, you know, questionable at best. Handful of leaks. The rear end is leaking. Let's see how far we can bring the light with us here.
Leaking pretty good.
Oh, I didn't zip tie the end of that on there. Look at this. We are amping it up in here. So it has double adjustable upper control arms. Don't know whose those are. Never seen them like that before. They're very interesting looking. Solid lower control arms. Those look like those could be maximum. Oh, they are. And yeah, it looks good. Rear end leaks, so we're probably going to address that issue. Boiler exhaust, huge tires, badass CCW wheels. I'm not sure what the fuel system is, but it does use all crimped Frigola PTFE line, so we're a fan. I don't know why there is tape around this one like this. I'm not sure if I want to look under there, but I'm going to have to eventually. All right, let's take the light back. T56, that's going to be coming out. All right, so this is coming out. We're pulling the T56 out of it. We're going to be doing a 4R70 automatic swap on this car. So he's already got the trans. He's already got the converter. Got that checked out. It's a lockup converter for like a Kenny Bell car, so it's close enough. We're going to be tuning it now. Small announcement, we're SCT dealers now, so all of the cars that are factory computer Mustangs will be tuned with SCT in-house. And we're pretty excited about that. That was a big move. And yeah, let's pull the engine and transmission out of this thing. We gotta go pick up some hoodies. A lot to do today. It's halfway through the day, haven't accomplished much. All right, so if you guys haven't seen the most recent video footage, we took the red car to the track with the S10, and the red car did not do well. It looked like it was leaving good and level, but it was not, and we finally spent all day yesterday.
It was leaving level and decent, but...
Yeah, it was leaving good. It 60-footed the same thing on 3 different two-step chips, though. It went 144, 146, 144, and gradually went up with the two-step, so it never really got any faster, although it definitely looked like it was going faster off the line. But driving the car, it was super slow inside. It was very disappointing. We wanted to go up there, get our like 999 ET time slip, which we for sure were running faster than that the weekend before. But we went up there and it did not go as planned. So we spent yesterday kind of just diagnosing some simple stuff. We went through all the valves, reset all the valves. We cleaned all the ignition components, flow tested the injectors, went out and drove it, and it was like the wideband air fuel ratios were different side to side, which caused us to do all those things. And got it all back together, started it, air fuel ratios were mint side to side. We started driving on the road, and it didn't feel any better really, maybe a little bit. I put new spark plugs in it, the old ones were fouled out, and then went and drove it, and I made a hit by my house, and it felt great. I was like, yes, it's fixed. Pulled the spark plug out of it. It looked like it could take a degree of timing or two, but I only pulled it to third gear. So we'd take that with a grain of salt. We'll leave it as it is. I literally put 2 new plugs in those holes, turned around, did it again, and it fell on it. It was lazy at like 6,000 RPM once again. So that was a huge bummer after spending like 6 hours on it yesterday, diagnosing stupid stuff. So then I got it back to the shop today, drove it from the house to here, and we actually threw the old big stuff box that had an issue with it starting up, put that in the car, and I drove it down the street, made a test hit, and it literally sat on the rev limiter like instantly in first, second, and third gear. It was just blowing the slicks off of it, making a ton of power. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, that's the story of now it's fixed. It was really strange is that I data logged the good pull and everything looked great, and then I data logged the pull where it labored afterwards, and the timing was like following the timing map perfectly. And even all the way through the pull, it says that it should have 18, 19 degrees of timing, and on the data log, it shows that it was like pulling it out at 6,200, and it was pulling it down to like 6 degrees of timing. And you could feel that. I mean, it was like, it probably lost like 400 or 500 horsepower doing that. Wild. ECUs are crazy, very delicate. You gotta be very careful welding on the cars. We will now be removing any ECU completely from the vehicle when we have to TIG weld on it. So, all right, anyway, that's enough about those two things. We're gonna go pick up the new hoodies that we got in stock. So if you ordered one, obviously, make sure you hit us up so we can get it shipped out to you. We'll be reaching out to you if you paid in advance. And I think that's all we got for you before we get this engine transmission out of this 99 Cobra. All right, guys, we're gonna move into part 2 of today's episode, which is a completely different car. The Cobra engine transmission are out. We removed everything from underneath the car. The new transmission is going to be dropped off tomorrow morning with the converter. So we will be touching on that more here shortly. But for the rest of today's episode, I'm going to start on another project that you guys will see. I'm not sure how much coverage we're going to do on it. There's a lot of work to be done, and we're only going to be doing a fraction of it. However, give you guys a quick rundown on this red notchback. This is a friend of ours, Jeremy. He's been following us on YouTube and Facebook. He's friends with a lot of our customers. And this car was started by somebody else. And due to some health concerns, he stopped working on it. So now we're going to kind of pick up where he left off, try to finish this thing to a point where it can drive and to still make budget. First things first is the rear end was already assembled by somebody else. And it is not good. I can move this in and out. I can spin everything around like way too easily. I have a feeling the differential is like literally just dancing around in here. So I'm going to pull the cover off. You guys are obviously going to see everything happen. We're going to pull the cover off. He's got a new 373 for it on the floor over there. So that's going to get installed. It's probably going to need all new bearings. So I have an install kit for it. And just make sure it's all set up correctly. And then we'll go over all the hardware that's in here. There's no brake lines, so we're going to have to address that situation. It's kind of got some hokey stuff going on. All over this car, but we're going to start out in the back, work our way forward. Trans cross member needs to be addressed, drive shaft needs to be installed. The whole car has had floors put in it. It's got through floor-ish subframe connectors, so it's kind of got some garage type fabrication done on it, but unfortunately the time frame and budget doesn't allow us to redo all that stuff. So we're going to be focusing on some of the essentials, like this being one, the driveline being nut and bolted, and then wiring, which is that's gonna be a whole separate episode. But let's get into it. All right, so now I obviously don't know at what stage the owner started getting involved in this rear end, because this is not obviously how it was driven. I mean, the whole center section is able to move in and out. The bolts are not down. I mean, there's no way it was driven like this, I would imagine. But it was driven poorly. I mean, all this is all chewed up. The differential is all, I mean, the gear is all chewed up. It is not a Ford racing gear. I can't really tell by the part number. It's a 373, which is what we're going to be putting back in it. But this is just, I mean, there's no bearing preload on it. It is literally just sitting in here. So we got to pull the axles out, pull this out, and then just start disassembling and putting new bearings on the new gear, swapping stuff over, and I don't know what the heck. I mean, it almost looks like it was driven like this to get that kind of wear on there. It's so weird. All right, what's up, guys? Battery died. I wasn't able to update you as much as I wanted to on this. There's you guys saw all the carnage, really, how bad it was. I showed you guys the ring gear, how chewed up that is. But now we got the new one in. We got the pattern there, you can see. Looking good. I like it. It's got a little bit more preload than oh no, it actually feels really good. I like it. This was the earlier pattern before I changed some things. So you kind of see from there, you got to adjust the backlash a little bit and then get the one we got now. So overall, happy with it. I'm about to seal it up. That's why you see the RTV on here, but I want to give you guys an update before I did that. Man, having these lights under here is titties. We also cleaned up the outside edge of these. So these are notorious for leaking, and this was like all caked with rust, and the cut to make it seal was bad. So I just made sure that I filed it clean and smooth, and then wire brushed the outside as best I can. So those are ready to go back on after I rebuild the brakes, because the wheel cylinders are bad. So I got new wheel cylinders, and I got brake lines so I can make the brake lines. Napa actually had this upper line that somebody cut. So I can seal this up and then move on to the brake portion. And then the rear axle will be as done as we're going to get it, aside from checking to make sure that this needs to be... I want to make sure this is not supposed to be half-inch hardware. So as long as it's got all the right size bolts in it, we'll tighten it up, even though they are not the right grade. I mean, most of the time people aren't going to have a problem with these, but an 8.8 is only a grade 5. So it's a metric equivalent of a grade 5. This should be grade 8 or 10.9.
Well, while Nicholas is knocking out the rear end on this, Anthony is doing a little oil change on the S10.
On the daily.
Not so good S10. But found some interesting stuff on the old 3.4 attempted install. As you can see, one hole goes through the blower and the other one just a void. Doesn't do anything on this side. And as you can see, there's RTV where there's a hole there. So, which made me wonder, what is this for? It was on there like this. So obviously there's, like I said, there's a hole for one side of the IAC, but not a hole for the other. But there's this tube that's intake. So obviously I was like, well, gotta come off. And look at that. So now the IAC can get the correct air it needs to read properly. So this thing probably would have idled very poorly, because see, 2 holes there, 2 holes there. That's how it should be going on. So now we gotta loosen all that up, rotate the fitting so it's on properly. Also got the rails off because we were going to be changing all the fuel line routing, and found a nice smashed injector O-ring. Look at that. Injector O-ring, that probably would not have sealed very well. Flow testing all these injectors, making sure it's all good, because we don't know where they came from. We're supposed to be ID 1000s on E85, which to my knowledge, or from what I've heard, is that the old ID 1000s aren't exactly 85 friendly, but not 100% on that, just based on what I can see. We're also going to be changing up the little gauge, because on the other rail install, it was hitting the blower for the EGR delete right here. So I'm assuming he kind of like couldn't tighten it down all the way, and it got tweaked, and now that's why the face looks all messed up. So we're gonna put a little 45 kicker away to get it off the blower, space the rail out just a little bit so everything tightens down properly, and that should be good to go on the whole blower and lower once the fuel lines have been changed. Checked all the threads on all these, blew out the inside here, and yeah. Then we got to tackle all the little wiring things like this. Boom. Yeah, so that's gonna have to be addressed. And then, yeah, like I said, so we're cranking away on this. Wes is going to be bringing over all the trans swap stuff tomorrow morning. And yeah, so we'll keep going on that.
Look at the goodies we just found.
Ready? Oh, nice. That'll work good.
The bearing retainer is toast. That is supposed to be attached here. It's still tight though.
Yeah, it still work. I mean, not really, but.
Yeah, that ain't supposed to be like that. Not one bit. It's supposed to ride on there, right? No good.
We are just finding more and more good stuff on this car, let me tell you. But, you know, this is just, oh, aside from, I forgot to show you up top, but this bolt that was in here, they just kind of sent it in and it probably had about an inch sticking out, but it did tighten up a little bit, but it obviously wasn't pulling anything in. It was just, you know, in there. So we're gonna have to check that out. All the stuff, everything else came out. It was missing the top two trans bolts as well. This one was missing and this one up here was missing. This one, however, on the top bell housing was the one that was just kind of, you know, an inch away from actually tightening up against the block. But to get to the really good stuff now, first off, that clutch is definitely not pulled down evenly whatsoever. You can see how much this bulges out, and you can see it like scraped up here. Nothing, oh, a little bit down there, not crazy, but it is bulging. These pressure plate fingers are bulging out up top, and nothing down here. It's like almost broken, I'm sure. It's ridiculous. There's no dowel pins anywhere on the clutch that you can see from the flywheel, but oh, there's one. But look what it's hitting. The pressure plate, huh? That's no good. And you can see a gap right there, a gap right there, and a little gap there. So, yeah, that was not installed properly whatsoever. So that's always a good thing to see. And obviously, as you can see before, that the bearing retainer sleeve was broken right off. So yeah, Wes, I don't know what happened here, but it is no good, buddy. No good at all. That is all I can say is, wow. Nicholas over here having some fun with brake drums.
Had new wheel cylinders, never used them. So the backside that never had a brake line in it were rusted up.
Yeah, you can see it.
And
Beautiful. Good stuff here, good stuff.
yep. I mean, when you build
Some archaic stuff.
both
for
of these
sure.
cars have some similarities as far as had a lot of work done to them, sat, didn't do anything to them, halfway did some stuff, sat. So
Yeah.
we're kind of picking both of them up where previous people left off.
And we haven't really shown you too much on the red notch. Did you show them any of the interior?
No, I only did an overview of the outside of what we're doing.
Oh, okay. Well, if this doesn't tell you anything, then yeah. Sure, that'll tell you what the rest of the interior looks like. If all the wire, most of the wiring is right here and kind of cut apart. So the interior does not look any better. There is harnesses everywhere. So our job is obviously to put it all back together and make sure everything works. Oh, there's a container of fluids. So yeah, a little bit of fun on Nicholas's birthday here. So, but we're probably gonna. I think this is about where I'm gonna stop. I think I'll get the clutch and flywheel off right now because that'll be, you know, zip zip zip. But that'll be about a wrap. I know I said it was gonna be a wrap, but I just found something really cool. I mean, I think it's cool. Nicholas just said I like these days when everything going that we take apart. It's like amazing to see what went wrong. All the problems that we find when we take other stuff apart, other people's stuff apart, is amazing. It's kind of enjoyment. I kind of take enjoyment from it, but I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but whatever. But look at that flywheel. There's a high, I can't show you the stuff up there, so I'm not going to go that high. But you look at the hot spots there. Woo! And obviously they mimic right there on the pressure plate as well. So those are the only two spots where the clutch was grabbing. I wonder if this car really moved very well. The rest of the look at that. The rest of it doesn't look like it was really even touched. There's the clutch spec But look at, there's the money. Look at that. Flywheel bolt broken. Oh, it's broken off in the crank.
Yeah, it's in there.
Youch. That is good. So, yeah. Ouch. That's Oh, there were 2 dowels. Look at that. I didn't even realize that. Obviously, it was not aligned into the clutch whatsoever, or the pressure plate, but there are 2 dowels. There should be a third, but, you know, we're just going to let that part slide for now. Luckily, it's getting an automatic. Fun stuff. Really fun stuff.
All right, guys, I want to wrap up this video for you on the red Notch and a little bit on the black Cobra, but we're going to be bringing you more on both these cars in the next video. I just want to get this one out to you. We ran into a handful of issues with this red car. First of all, the shifter was for a Mopar configuration, so the cable was facing the wrong way, the shifter orientation was wrong, so we had to change all that up, and it's just a cheetah. So we had to take this all apart, flip it all around. I had the cable coming out of the front, flip this all, got that set up. The rear end is all done. So we ran brake lines to the new wheel cylinders. We bled the rears. We saw that that all works good. There's still a handful of issues back here. The shock brackets are incorrect. There's eyelets for the inside of the shocks are missing. So there's still a little bit more to do back here. But for now, this is what's going to get it back to a roller status. Unfortunately, this car is not as far along as the owner thought, so it's likely that it's going to be back in the garage as a roller, not as a running driving vehicle, unfortunately. But the rear end is all done. The gear is swapped. Everything's changed. Our drive shaft's going to be here tomorrow. And then that'll wrap up the drive line along with the shifter linkage. I got to get some of the riv nuts to mount the shifter there, run the cable through the floor there, cut a hole in the carpet, put this all back together. We haven't really looked at the wiring, which was supposed to be our main concern, but as of right now, we are not going to be touching that yet. In the front, when we went to bleed the brakes, this bleeder doesn't work, so we got a new bleeder in that one now, and this caliper is locked up, which makes sense because the car weighs like 2,300 pounds, and it's impossible to push. But the wheel bearings all feel good, but this caliper was locked. So I got a new caliper. It has SVO calipers. Got a new caliper coming. Got the drive shaft coming. Missing some little brake components, and they'll be able to get off the lift and at least complete everything that we're touching, so it's not totally half finished, but the drive line will be put together, the shifter will work, and it'll be much further along than it was, but that's where this car stands. I know you guys didn't get an update on what I was working on while we were working on it, but we did do a gear, reset the rear end, new C-clip eliminators, they were tore up. A bunch of different small issues that we've been addressing as we go. But we will wrap this up in the next video when we show you some more on the black Cobra automatic swap that we're working on too. So both of these got to get wrapped up within the next week to 10 days here to stay on schedule. So I hope you guys like what you guys saw. If you did, subscribe down below, of course. Follow us on other social media platforms, and we'll see you guys in the next video.